Hi, welcome to Bear Mountains Part 2 on how to pre-sprout Ranunculus. In the first video, which you can reference back to, you'll notice that there's a card up in the upper right hand corner. You'll see it. Or I guess since I'm facing the wrong way, it's over here. And anyway, that references the previous video where we showed how we soaked or hydrated the corms. The corms have now been hydrated for about 4 hours. And what we're going to do now is make the mix and actually pack them. And then what we do when we finish packing them, we'll store them in a bulb crate and put them away in our root cellar for about 10 days. So our mix is really simple. It's 1 part peat moss, which you can get. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be super fine. This is just what I had here on the farm. You can get it from Home Depot, you know, for 12 or 13 bucks a bale. And then we put in, this is propagation grade perlite, which means it's got big chunks and little chunks. And we'll put about a bucket of that in. So it's about a 1-to-1 mixture. Maybe a little more, a little less, but right around there. Perlite, it's got various sizes. Okay, it's just a simple mixing by the hand. This peat moss had some moisture in it because it had been outside, but we're going to add a little bit more moisture to it. What you want it to feel is you want it to feel damp, but not such that when you squeeze it in your hand that you would get water released out of it. You just want it damp enough that it keeps the corms moist, and at the same time the perlite gives air around the corms themselves. So it kind of provides a bit of anti-caking, so to speak, so that the peat moss doesn't end up compacting down. The whole important point of this pre-sprout, we put a little water in it to kind of get things to be moistened up. You don't want it too heavy. Just a feeling like it's just moist to your fingertips. Trying to make sure everything is really mixed really well. It's not a complicated process. There's no minerals, there's no fertilizer, nothing in here. This is just straight peat moss and perlite. Okay, we have a little bit too much water here. So we are ready to go. Okay, so we're going to take our first bag of Ranunculus Amidine Pinks. We've got about 250 corms in here. And what I'll do is I'll just empty it in this kind of a holding container. Get them all out. Some of them like to hang around in the bag a little bit. Okay, if you look inside, these were all kind of really shriveled up, and now they're all pumped up nice. They're a little bit darker color. These were corms we saved from a previous year, so it reflects a little bit of the characteristic of our soil, which has a little bit more organic material in it than it seems like. You know, a lot of the stuff when you get it commercially from your broker, that what happens is you end up with you know, things are been sterilized pretty good, and there's no fungicides or anything on these guys, but they're nice and plump and they're ready to go. There's the top, there's the bottom. So first step, what we do, we just put a little bit of the mix in the bottom of the bag, and we just take a handful. Don't bother counting them out or anything of that nature. You know, if you feel like there's something wrong or you see something wrong in a corm, like you need fungus or anything like that, these all look really good. So we just make a layer, and then we put a little more soil in it, a little bit more of the mix. Another handful, so to speak, maybe 2. Kind of spread them around in the bag. This is the part where it requires an advanced PhD to do this. Some people say PhD stands for post-hole digger, I guess in the flower vernacular. Okay, I'll stop trying to be a comedian. We pack these bags are pretty expandable. We try to make sure that none of the corms, as best as we can, are exposed on the edges, that they're kind of oriented to the center of the bag. That way they don't have a chance to dry out on you. And what we'll do when we pull these guys out in about 10 days is we'll run another video and show you what they look like when we popped them out. On our video we posted today, earlier on the hydrating of the corms, we showed you an example of our first round of what some of our corms look like coming out. This is not a uniform process in terms of how these guys are going to root. Some varieties we have found are more aggressive than others, such as Labelle Champagne tends to put out a lot of roots real fast, and some of them are a little more reticent. Like the white picotees seem to be a little bit slower. They're a little bit smaller corm, even though they're still 5.7s. We like to use 5.7s instead of 3.5s. 5.7 bigger corm gives you more blooms and it gives you a more robust plant. Now that we got everything packed, don't want to forget the last step I almost did. We put our card back in so we know what it is we're planting. And that's it. And what you'll notice is that the peat moss is equally around it. Perlite's pretty equally distributed. And this will just go into the crate. And then we move on to the next one. Anyway, this is the final group. It's we're putting in a little dark orange. Most of our colors for spring are pastels, whites, or champagne, or pink version. They're very light colors, very springy look. These, we throw a little bit of the dark orange in there because, well, we are Oregon State alums. So
go Beavs.
Yeah, go Beavs. And so this is just for a few of our customers that have some Oregon State accounts, and
we like orange.
They like orange. This is a dark orange, and it's in the Labelle series. It's not a super huge, compared to the Beyond Cherries, but it's still it's got a nice color to it. And we're coming up on our last little bit here, just make sure everything's all covered. And we put our card in. Okay. These guys are ready for putting into storage. And there's enough in here. This is probably about 1 crate. Just trying to make sure everything's kind of arranged. And this is it. This will go into our root cellar, which keeps pretty constant temperature, right around 55, with moderate amount of humidity in there. We'll check these guys probably about halfway through to make sure in about 5 days there isn't any problems, like they're drying out or anything of that nature. But once they're gone through the pre-sprout, we'll sift out the excess peat moss and perlite, just add that in as a soil amendment. And these guys should have a nice set of roots on them, and they'll be ready to plant. So we'll do a video on that one in about 10 days. and you can see what the final result is. Thank you.